Hello again, everybody. My name is John D. Healy. People know me because I wrote this book a couple of years ago. It's about Tony McGurn, his life story and all that. And that's how it all started. I'm also sponsored by Liffey Movers, a moving company that move, they're in the moving business for 50 years or more. They move local and overseas and all that. My guest today is probably one of my youngest guests that I've had so far on my podcast, which is called It's Good to Talk. It's good to talk and it's good to listen to. So my guest today is Angel Santiago. And I'm going to ask Angel to tell us a little bit about himself. Where were you born, Angel?
I was born in Puerto Rico, born and raised over there. I moved to Florida when I was 11 years old. Learned half of my English I learned here, but a lot of it we were taught in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. And over here, I've been pretty much raised in Florida ever since. Everything I know, I learned here. And I would say that my most fundamentals though are Puerto Rican though. Like even though I was raised here, I would say that I'm mostly everything that I value, everything that I know, I obtained from over there.
That's like say from, well, as we say in Harlem, from the womb to the tomb. But in your case, when you were born in Puerto Rico, you were inspired by a lot of things, probably from grandparents or parents or people. Yeah. You grew up in the village, I guess. Yeah, in the village or town.
I grew up in a lot of places in Puerto Rico. I lived in the central part where it was very urban, like a city. But I also grew up like in a forested area where, there was barely any internet or, you would shower and the drain was like a hole straight through the wall, But I also lived in the south as well where it was very deserted and it had beaches. And it was beautiful. But yeah, I lived in a lot of places over there, not just.
Similar, I grew up in Ireland, in Mayo, on the west coast, in Glenamoy, and it sounds like we have so much in common. Anyway,
yeah.
Talking about that, beautiful place. So then you went to school there, obviously, when as a teenager, or as a younger than teenager, I guess, and then you moved to Florida. Is that right?
Yeah, and just over there, things were so different that when I first came here, I didn't know what to do with any of the other kids. So when I first got here, I got here in 7th grade. I couldn't make any friends because there were so many people, and in Puerto Rico the schools are so much smaller. It was very overwhelming. Eventually I did acclimate. It was very different at first.
Yeah, that's like me growing up too. You have to make the best of it. You're as good as anyone else and better than most. So when you came, then you moved to Florida, I guess.
Yeah, and I've been here ever since. College has changed so much for younger people like me. To me, I didn't see that as like a viable thing, because like college is so expensive, and nowadays it doesn't give you a lot of fruition. So I went for trade, trade school. My grandpa was an electrician, so
I
wanted to follow that. I did HVAC. That's I wanted to do electricity at first, but HVAC, it called to me because it was different.
HVAC is heating and ventilation.
Heating and ventilation, cooling,
and air conditioning and cooling.
Yeah, the removing of heat. That's what.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, but it was very sciencey, like how you explained removal of heat, BTUs, British thermal units, everything like that. That called to my attention, and that's why I went for that.
You seem pretty sharp about it. You're working in that business right now, yeah?
Yeah, working my way up little by little, and maybe one day I'll do big industrial levels of it.
By the way, my guest today is Angel. He's only 21 years old. He is my youngest guest probably on this podcast called Good to Talk. And I'm John Healy. So let's listen to more about Angel. You're obviously a very interesting young man and you seem well educated and well spoken. So going back to the air conditioning stuff and all that, you say you want to get higher and higher up in it. You are cool, okay? So you want to get cooler and cooler. So you would like to be maybe own your own company or go in a different angle on where all that world is going? Because like in a number of years' time, probably, we'll have air conditioning on the moon. I hope you might be there for that one. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, I hope. That'd be really cool, yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool?
Maybe even in Mars, I could be.
One of my favorite songs by a certain singer. But yeah, so all of the technology and all the industry is going that way. We say crude oil will be less needed. The buildings in New York will be heated maybe by solar panels or wind energy or all the different alternative things, which is right in front of you as a 21-year-old. Be looking forward and projecting forward. Say from 5 years from now, where would you like to see yourself? I know it's a big question, but
I
it's
just
got you dream.
every time I hear that question, I always think, where was I 5 years ago? You know,
Okay,
5 years ago, I had just graduated, you know, and
okay,
I didn't see myself where I am now. I know I'm not a crazy, engineer or anything like that, but I'm working on it, and
right.
5 years is a lot of time, and who knows where I could be. But hopefully, I want to be a professional at what I do. Obviously, I
Yeah.
won't have my own business at that point, but it'll be what I'm working on,
Well, you
you
never
know.
know. I mean, a few months back here, I interviewed Sergey. He's an engineer. He works in Sloan Catering. He is a
Yeah,
scientist. He deals with brain
cancer
cancer and stuff
research.
like that. And
Yeah,
you
I
probably
saw that.
saw his interview. He's an extremely interesting guy. So, I mean, who knows? You never know going forward. And again, my guest today is Angel. How did I meet Angel? Angel bought my book, and he was interested and curious. And it's a good book for someone like Angel to read because it does talk about air conditioning and trade school. You mentioned that. Let's get back to the trade school thing for a minute. And you did make one very valid point there because I was fortunate growing up. I was like a trust fund baby, so my education was paid for. So it was very easy for me to, as I say, walk through the corridors of universities because paid for. But I did it in classes as well. And I did pay attention. So the trade school thing is, I think it's coming back to that, where people need to work physically with their hands and their minds too. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, yeah, because nowadays I feel like it's very saturated, overly saturated. A lot of people, they don't actually do the things that they are working
Mm-hmm.
to become. And trade school is the opposite of that. They give you hands on and everything. And I feel like that's something a lot of kids nowadays are missing out on. And I feel like that's also why a lot of us are pushing trade schools more. So yeah, I would
Because
say
I
yeah.
mean, I think there are too many lawyers in the world, too many judges
Yeah,
in the world. But
yeah.
this is your interview, not me giving you my opinion. I could, of course. I'll do tarot cards later. So, do you have any hobbies or interests besides being so focused on reading my book? So you like to
Yeah,
read? What
yeah.
you like besides reading the book? What else?
Well, it's funny because right now I'm writing my own story,
Good.
and that's what I like to do. I like to write, and I like to learn new things. Just last year, I was learning how to do skating,
Okay.
and I picked that up, and I learned a lot, and I met a lot of people. I'm always hopping from thing to thing. And right now I'm doing writing, and I've always been a decent writer, so
Okay.
that's
That's
why I
good.
kind of want to do that.
Mm.
But recently I've been doing boxing too, and that's been fun. Yeah, I guess my hobby is just doing things, new things,
New things. Well, you're only
trying
21 years
different
old.
things.
Like I had
Yeah.
Tom Sanchez on here. I interviewed him a couple of times. He's from the United Friend Group. But besides doing his day-to-day work, which involves branding, promotional products, and all that, he was on here and he was juggling.
Juggling.
Yeah.
Juggling.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I told him he could get a job in a circus,
Yeah.
so could I, as a clown. But getting back to the writing, so the like I can give the listeners some tips about writing. Like when I wrote this book for Stoney,
Okay.
he wrote it with a pencil. Okay, so I told him, I said, just write. If you only write one page every day, at the end of the year, you have a book. You have 365 pages.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you get it all down and you get it out of from your head to paper, and
And I
then
feel like I really feel like that's what every hobby is. It's not about being the best right off the bat. It's about little by little putting in that commitment
Mhm.
and learning as much as you can every day. And then by the end of the year, hopefully you'll be further than you were at first. And
Well,
that's how it's been in my experience.
that's the next. Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. You said it well. It's like when the Beatles show band, when they started out first, they weren't the best show band in the world, but they had to play in some town in Germany, which I can't think of, and they were playing there, and they were really, really not good. But they had to play like 6 days a week, 4 times a day. So by sheer practice of repetition, they got better and better and better and better. And then that's
Yeah.
why they became the Beatles by just repetition of doing it and doing it well. I'm sure you'll agree with that
Yeah.
statement too.
Just learning. It's all about the learning. And that's the fun
It's,
part, I feel like.
that is the fun part, and to have an open mind as you do, and that's important too. So now we've spoke about your hobbies, your education, your career. You're only 21, so you probably have a million girlfriends. So I'm not going to ask you about relationships because that might get you in trouble. You never know who listens to this podcast. Okay, many
Yeah.
people, more people than you imagine tune in here. Okay, to this, to this podcast, and I have to be
Yeah.
careful. So I'm very impressed with you because like you were born in Puerto Rico, I was born in Ireland, obviously. Your first language is not English. I spoke Gaelic when I was growing up, which was pretty, to study in mathematics and through like the Irish language was difficult for me. But the creativity part comes in and all that. I'm trying to think who else. Have you finished reading the book yet, or you're?
No, I started a little bit of it, and I really liked what he talked about. The a certain other type of Irish person, and he said how they're so cheap that
Oh, okay.
they're so cheap that when they had a blood transfusion, he didn't want to do it again because he had the blood in him. He didn't want to give it up. He had the
Well,
cheap blood in him. I found that really funny.
don't say I said this, okay? He might have been talking about himself, okay?
Yeah,
Being cheap,
yeah,
because like Cavan and Leitrim are neighbouring counties, and he's right, Jazz. The Cavan people are probably known to be a little on the cheap side, That's,
something
they could make copper wire out
some
of a penny.
something funny about learning new things though is that you'd be so surprised how good you could get in such a little short amount of time just by watching those or observing those that are really good. Like it's amazing how quick you can improve just by reading, a really good book or by
Mm.
watching a really good movie or
Thank you for saying that.
observing somebody that's a master.
Mm.
So when it comes to me trying to improve my writing ability, that's what I aim for.
I'll be happy to help you get your
Yeah,
stuff published when we get there, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And why not? Like, of course. I mean, if Stoney and I can do it, you can do it. We compare
Yeah.
ourselves a little bit to. It's like he's Steve Hawkins and I'm Helen Keller. Okay, so and we
Yeah,
got a book published,
yeah,
which is not bad.
yeah.
And if you notice as well on this book, there's a symbol of a pencil. Okay, and the reason that I put that on there is because he wrote it with a pencil. Okay,
Mm.
and then my good friend again, getting back to Tom Sanchez, he designed pens for me, like writing pens, and it's what's known as a carpenter's pen, where it doesn't roll off the desk or it doesn't roll off the counter. And it's very important nowadays because
Mm.
you don't want your pen rolling off
Oh,
the counter.
yeah, my grandpa has a few of those. Yeah, I know what you're
There you
talking
go.
about.
Is your
Yeah,
grandfather still alive?
yeah, yeah. I live with him still.
Oh,
Should be
that's
arriving
really
pretty
good.
soon.
That's very nice to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah,
You seem like a very kind young man. I'm very impressed to have to interview you. You have
yeah,
a good soul. I think that's how we say it. Yeah,
yeah,
good heart.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
oh, my pleasure. So, anything else you'd like to add to the interview before we wrap it up, or you
I would like to say
that you love
it's
this
really
book?
nice. It's really nice to do this. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
Look, I gotta finish it first before I say that.
Okay, there you read. That's like
Yeah,
a politician's answer. You haven't just said, "Oh, it's great," because this is adult material. There's
yeah,
adult
yeah,
stories in this, but you're 21, you're okay. Otherwise, I wouldn't have sold the book to you. No, there's a lot of adult
yeah. I would
content.
just,
Yeah. See, when I say
I
there's
guess to
adult
fin.
content, people now want to buy the book to see what's in there. Like it's like
Yeah,
when Stoney was 10 years old, he almost lost his arm, like in an accident, and he ended up in hospital. And this is a story in the book as well, by the way. And his father had to get a French surgeon from Paris
right.
back in the day in Ireland to get his arm straightened out and all that. And I
Yeah,
was hanging out in Ryan's daughter up on the Upper East Side one night, and people said to me, like, how did he lose his arm? I said, buy the book, you'll find out. So
yeah. Oh
it's a
man,
sale.
yeah. I didn't think about it like that.
It's
That's
a sales
yeah,
way, yeah. So
yeah.
you'll find out how he lost his arm. Yeah.
Okay.
So good chatting to you, Angel, again. And
Yeah, yeah,
coming up in the new year in January and February, and that I will be doing more podcasts. Like I interviewed Adam Cardona last week. He's a medical massage therapist, sports
yeah. I
therapist,
saw that one.
and you
Yeah,
saw that one. Good for you. And then a lot of
yeah.
people have been sending me emails for little bits that I forgot to ask Adam about blood circulation and hypertension and all that. So they're all saying, please ask, dear John, please ask Adam, please ask Adam. So I will come back with something like that. So if people have questions for you, Angel, I will say, okay, I'll ask Angel if they
Okay,
have a question for me, and
okay, okay.
things like that. you never know. You might be brought to the top of a whole new company just by talking to me, because you know why? It's good to talk.
Okay. It is good to talk. Yeah.
Okay. If you have anything else, you can say it. If not, I'm going to say goodbye to.
Yeah. I'm glad I met you, man. I'm glad I would have never done this if I didn't travel, if I didn't explore new things. So for me, that's what it's all about. It's about seeing new things.
You learn with your feet, and you meet people.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Some of the nicest people in the world are the most basic and honest and simple, and not too much haughty-taught, too flamboyant, and all that. So I'm glad to have you interviewed as well. So best wishes for next year. Good luck with your study and good luck with your career. That was my guest today, Angel, and I'm John Healy. Good to Talk podcast. And as Adam tells me, if you like the podcast, push that like button.